Hello everybody and welcome to Blood Bowl. I'm Complacent Badger.
I'm Sir Kilo.
And here we are, finally.
Right? So this is game 1 of Season 3 of the Broken Teeth and Bloody Turf League.
Correct.
After quite a bit of a hiatus, a couple coaches not coming back, but these are two strong coaches from last season.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty excited to see how this is going to turn out. So, Action Jackson with his crazy 8's and that Bloodthirster are a formidable foe on the pitch.
Very much so. So we're going to probably see some carnage in this one, both sides.
That's true. Yep, and the Stalking Dead with Gimpy was this is a second season team. So kind of getting into the feel of it. A little more agility, a little more technique, except for those big stupid dead guys who were really there for the bashing. So let's watch out for those.
Yes. So looks like Stalking Dead receiving for this one, and starting out with the mummies doing what they do best.
Right.
Leaves the line pretty sparse against those mummies, and what he puts up, a skeleton and 2 zombies. So 5-man line versus a 3 pit fighter line, obviously giving up the line to the undead.
Right. So he's playing a little deeper than he normally does. Action Jackson's usually pretty aggressive, so I like to see that he's playing a little deeper. And when you sacrifice that line, it's not usually a big deal. But he's got that Bloodthirster in reserve for the blitz action, so that he doesn't just put him on the line for the regular moves.
Yep, a couple players, like you said, back there protecting against the pass from Helmet, the Mutilator, and Limb Chewer, and then White Power, the Agility 4 White, rolling around. Has no protection in his own backfield, but with the mummies nearby and a little bit of engagement from zombies, looks like it's not going to cause much.
Right, but that's not a good habit to get into, because you're going to get those blitzes from the corners. As soon as you get any penetration back there, yes, he is Agility 4, which means he can get away, but at the same time has blocks, so he's okay by himself, but that's not where you want your ball carrier, no matter what his level or abilities.
Yeah, you never want your ball carrier by himself. However, the mummy with a blitz actually managing to stun Helgrim.
That's outstanding.
That mighty blow.
All day, every day, man. That's the guy that you want to hit with that. So because he's so dangerous and he has the ability to kind of thin the herd on your team, that you want to realistically deal with that as probably one of the major threats of that team. But at the same time, moving the ball, being conscious about your ultimate goal is to get that try instead of just beating up on the opponent. So doing a really good job of balancing those out. That was the perfect guy, the perfect place, perfect opportunity to do that.
Yep. A lot of good cage breaking happening right here. Most of which are coming out as 1 dies, but working out for him. Setting the undead up for a difficult position, but we'll see if he can get out of it.
Right, especially having that body there on the ground is kind of forcing the direction and the dodges that you have to go into. So
yep, just some pretty simple player shuffles results in only a single dodge to get over there, and he almost has a cage created around and there's the finished cage.
Oh, and there's a wizard in play.
Yep. I'm pretty sure it's the Stalking Deads. The team value difference was huge. We didn't go over it at the beginning, but we're just so excited.
Oh yeah, and there's going to be quite a bit of team value differences as we go through all these games.
Yep, won't be as intense as it was last season, but it'll still be there.
Right.
So opting to go for against the mummy with the Bloodthirster to get in there. Bloodthirster doesn't actually have any bonuses to stopping this guy from just walking away, so...
Right. And that's the way to look at it. Would you have gone for the mummy with your Bloodthirster, or would you have gone for somebody a little bit softer in hopes of getting somebody on the ground or off the pitch?
I'd probably have to be in the situation with more than a couple just seconds of fast forward. I tend to not want to. Fractured skull on Katrin the Avenger, a brand new player. Using that to get a badly hurt out of it. But back to the Bloodthirster, I have a tendency not to use my big guys for important situations, so.
Yeah.
And there's the touchdown with opening up with a couple blitzes and a few moves, an easy agility 4 dodge out.
That was pretty good. I mean, that was a solid 4-turn march down the field, and did a really good job of managing his vulnerabilities. So let's see what he does on the other side of the ball.
And that just goes to show you that Gimpy's learned a lot about the running game, that it's not about just setting up a wall and trying to slog through. It's about engaging people while they're covering for in case of passing or different routes, getting them tied up to where they can't assist in cage breaking, and then reforming your cage organically down the pitch.
Yeah, and you did a really good job of that. Where even when though we're watching it in fast forward, that second cage behind the Bloodthirster really looked like it appeared out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually doesn't happen like that, where you end up seeing a situation, a possibility, and you kind of go for it and work towards it and see if it'll pan out. And that one panned out in spades, especially with that blitz action and then moving into that position as well. So that was pretty impressive.
Interesting setup here. They kind of reversed order. He threw the mummies back into the midfield while the Bloodthirster was placed on the line.
Right, and that's an interesting way to go about it. I think that because you're going to take a hit, throw somebody who doesn't really count in there and make them engage your stronger players in a more tactically advantageous position, other than just standing there waiting to get hit.
Yep.
Good style.
A thing to be concerned about, though he created a massive cage around his ball carrier, he's leaving at least his left wing, as we're viewing it, completely open. A dead player on the pitch. It was one of the... Oh, man. It was somebody, and they regenerated. I want to say it was the... zombies have regenerated, right? Yeah, it had to have been one of the zombies on the line. But, yeah, that's a kill for the Bloodthirster.
Star player points as they roll in, and fantasy points as well, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting having to watch this with both of those ideas in mind.
Yeah, it definitely changes your perspective of a lot of things, especially since I actually have a player in this game.
Oh, nice.
Because for anybody not aware, I am participating in the fantasy league.
Yeah, it's. I've been following that pretty closely, and it looks. Whoa, what do you got there?
That's a dead bloodletter.
Good golly, that's 2 dead.
The zombie regenerated, and I don't think that bloodletter just did.
No.
But that was to dodging, and then the other one was to a both down, so not exactly like the most brutal and awesome looking kills we've seen.
Right. Tripped, fell, broke his neck.
Yeah. KOs as well. Looks like the Stalking Dead able to kind of bring that noose around. So your cage is useful only when you have everybody kind of tied up away from the cage.
Right.
Once that noose starts to close around your cage becomes useless, and that's exactly what happened. Is it became more of an obstacle for you to get out of, and hence why the player died, was doing a risky dodge.
Right. I mean, it's the difference between traveling with an armed escort and pulling the drawbridge up and forming a siege castle. You know what I mean? At a certain point, you're restricting your own movements, and then you get into bad situations.
Yeah. I think the Bloodletter, he is back. He managed to regen. I think I may have just missed the regen roll.
Yeah, that happens pretty quick when we're at this speed.
Because I'm still seeing 2 Bloodletters and 2 Heralds. So it had to have been a regen save. So 2 deaths in this game, both regened.
Hey, that's the way we like to see it. That way nobody has any hurt feelings.
I'm sure there's still always hurt feelings.
There's always hurt feelings.
And especially him, Julian
Right.
Postmortem.
But we don't judge here. We judge later. It's somewhere else.
Yep. Behind closed doors. So
that is a fully engaged line. Look at that.
yeah, interesting decision to push forward and just... I mean, I know it's a lot of bodies, and he's going to try to put the mummy down. He got him pushed away, but I guess he didn't have any turns anyways, so I'm the asshole here.
That's usually my role, man.
Yeah.
All right.
So going to the second half, 2-0, a really good drive from Stalking Dead, followed by picking up an advantage after a failed dodge roll and getting a touchdown out of it. So it's an uphill climb, but we'll see if the Crazy 8's can do it.
I mean, and it's not impossible to get two touchdowns. So that's as the Stalking Dead recently proved.
Yep.
So the idea is, now that AJ has the ball, what are you going to do with it? So
yeah. And I don't know if blitzing that zombie was worthwhile with the Bloodthirster. Like, I guess it was just trying to get star player points, and I don't know if capping off your cage like that is a good move.
That was what I was going to address as you were talking about the Bloodletter, but having that guy there might not be the best, because you definitely have formed that wall up again. So now your only way out is to the left and around, or you're going to have to punch your way through.
Because it doesn't really gain you anything, and it just makes things like fireballs a lot more useful.
Yeah.
Which badly hurt that player and put the guy that he put there. Because this guy right here isn't deterring a blitz any more than this guy was.
Right.
So really, that's, again, like we're talking about, not only does it reduce your avenues of egress, but it also keeps you from being spread out. Because right here, the opposite of what the Stalking Dead did on their drive is he's got nobody downfield. He's got no options. The Stalking Dead, all they have to do is keep 1 or 2 safeties and then just keep pressing. They're in the lead right now. They don't have to take risks.
Right, and especially it's a good safety to have that ghoul back there and the white on the
far side in case
the far side.
Weird lateral happens. And then once you start getting into a pitched fight, you can, I mean, he's picking where his fights are, and he's able to kind of break through the similar armor value.
Right, and it's one of those things where he can play a standoff defense at this point and try to conserve players and just get and focus on and running routes and dodges, just cutting those off as much as possible. They're both such pretty strong teams, so it's you don't really want to engage in that toe-to-toe boxing match that this is kind of turning into.
So right here,
got free.
Yep. Let's see if he can reform. It's a decent partial cage. The sideline helping out a little bit there. Ooh, another badly hurt.
I think that ghoul can penetrate from behind, and that white can get a little bit ahead.
This white can definitely get in there to get a good hit, and the ghoul can probably throw an assist while somebody else takes away the... So there's the assist, and then there's the blitz. And then Smart, he's covering the ball instead of trying to pick it up.
I think that I would have... Because he left a simple dodge, so he's going to have to... It'll be a bad dodge in with a -2, and then, but it's a simple dodge out. So I don't think... I think they did a good enough job of making that a not great or a super good option. Knocking some folks off of it. You put him on the ball, and then it bounced.
Yep. I hate pushing people onto the ball. It rarely works for me and usually just makes the situation worse.
Yeah, every once in a while I've managed to do it. It's kind of like that last-ditch effort where you push the ball carrier out of bounds and hope that a bounce happens that you can get your hands on it. And this isn't really one of those times where...
Well, pushing them out of bounds is a whole different story. But at least in this situation, you're usually pushing the guy onto the ball, which will mean the ball will almost, unless it does some crazy bouncing between legs, is going to always at least remain adjacent to the guy that you pushed.
True.
So you're still going to get negative modifiers to pick it up, and will likely bounce adjacent to the guy that you were trying to get it away from. So it stays the same. It just makes it into a different situation that you can't plan for.
You make a valid point. That's a super good point.
Obviously, there are times where that really changes the game, like a really crazy bounce. But you know me, man. I don't like to make those risks. Oh, that is a dead ghoul. Poor Limchewer.
Wowza.
Limchewer.
And they looked like they were being such very good friends, standing around a campfire.
Oh yeah,
kumbaya.
They were holding hands, but then somebody yelled "blood for the blood god," and all bets were off. So break tackle. I think there was some mentioning between the two coaches after the game that I think the Crazy 8's coach did not realize that break tackle didn't work for every dodge.
Oh, so he okay, because we know break tackle is only on the first dodge out.
Correct, on the initial dodge. I think there may be a way to change it to where you choose when to use it, but I have never seen a situation where not just using it as the first and usually only is not beneficial.
Agreed. A little hot potato.
Yep, bouncing all around. Oh, dead Herald.
Oh God!
Hekthar the Slayer, that's my player. Luckily, he's on the bench. So what that means now is that the Stalking Dead have a new skeleton named Hekthar the Slayer, so that really doesn't change much for me other than my player is now on the Stalking Dead's team.
That's it just changed into a different person. No big deal.
Yep. Now he's just a shitty skeleton who will probably get quite a few less points. But it's better than him just being dead, I guess.
I mean, yeah, it saves you the work for hiring a new player, but
I think I will anyways. Oh,
yep,
and then a 1 on the dodge drops it. So looks like this game's pretty much the end. Pebble Feeder, is that? Yeah, Pebble Feeder has the ball, no chance of scoring. But looks like the Crazy 8's don't really have a chance either.
Wow.
So brutal game.
I don't think that we've seen a game with that many deaths.
It's at least up there. I can't think of anything that was the same or more, but I feel like in my heart that it's happened.
Yeah, was it? So this was what, two on each team?
Overall, I think it was 2 on each team, but only 2 that stuck.
Right, and 1 for each team that stuck.
Yep.
That's
a lot of
astounding.
Deaths. Not to mention the death, injury, 2 KOs, death, injury, and then 2 more deaths. It's 2 deaths that got fixed, so that's pretty brutal. Plus a injury that got reverted from a fractured skull to a badly hurt, so that wouldn't have showed up on the sideline.
True.
Honestly, not much to say about that game other than the brutality. It was pretty cut and dry. One team used the running game a little bit more effectively while the other team failed to do so.
Yeah, it's true, and I think that the Crazy 8's coach, Action Jackson, hasn't been playing in the auxiliary leagues a little bit. So this is truly his first game back in quite a while since this season ended. So Gimpy's been playing a little bit extra, and I think that showed that he's come along pretty quickly, and AJ's going to need maybe 1 or 2 games to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, while not a bad coach, just because life gets busy, he tends not to practice as much as, say, Gimpy. So you can see the rust being shaken off, and I assume that in the next week or 2 that he'll be back to his best state.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But that was a good game to watch.
Yeah, I'm really glad that, well, I shouldn't say glad, it was a lot of murder, but it was at the very least entertaining.
Air power.
All right, well, we will see you in the next game.
Have a good night.